In this video, you'll learn how to overcome failure and make your business a success. We should kick things off with a sound portion of authenticity. Maintaining a business isn't simple. Half of all organizations fizzle in their absolute first year of activity. By their fifth year, 80% will have gone under, and following 10 years, only 4% of organizations are still fully operational. So in case you're an entrepreneur or a planned business visionary, it's likely an ideal opportunity to remove your rose-shaded glasses. But don't give up. In case you're really able to acknowledge the demand of maintaining a business and to accept the tough situations, the awful press, and the extended periods of time that go with it, you may very well have the stuff to succeed. The author, Anthony Scaramucci, certainly didn't turn it into a short-term business achievement. He bombed ordinarily. And the organization he established, Skybridge, nearly went under. However, eventually it didn't, on the grounds that he figured out how to jump over all the little bunny openings of disappointment in his way. What's more, you can do likewise. In these chapters, you'll learn why Skybridge chose to hold a gathering during a monetary downturn, why you should give your workers cleanser and antiperspirant, and how you can turn no into on. Bold moves can deliver enormous profits. The date was March 2009. The US economy was wrecked. Agents on Wall Street were terrified. The S&P 500 had wound up in a real predicament, and monetary organizations were dropping significant meetings left and right. The entirety of this disarray was alarming for the author. He stressed that the slump would sink his organization, Skybridge Capital. However, at some point, his colleague, Victor Oviedo, proposed a thought. What if Skybridge tossed a speculative stock investment gathering in Vegas? From the start, the author thought Oviedo was kidding. "Please, Vic," he said. However, he immediately started to warm to the thought. All things considered, what better approach to demonstrate that you and your business were innovative, versatile, and enterprising than pulling off an occasion this way when different organizations wouldn't try to do likewise? The main message here is, bold moves can deliver enormous profits. The author and his colleague named their meeting the Skybridge Alternatives Conference, or SALT, and set a date for May, 2 months before the gathering. The author introduced the plan to his other 5 colleagues. They were not actually excited. However, being Skybridge's organizer, the author had the last say. They were going with it. Amazingly, he and his group pulled off the arranging and creation of the occasion in under 2 months. They figured out how to draw in unmistakable visitor speakers and fill the seats with financial backers, resource chiefs, scholastics, charitable pioneers, and media characters. Apparently, the SALT conference was a significant achievement. During a profound financial downturn, Skybridge had assembled an instructive gathering that gave participants an expectation of what's to come. It additionally demonstrated to the world that Skybridge wasn't leaving the business. In any case, it went significantly farther than that. The meeting brought Skybridge standard consideration that brought about the author showing up in 2 of Oliver Stone's movies, Wall Street and Wall Street 2, that drove Stone to consent to peruse the composition of the writer's first book, and to compose the foreword as well. This shows that critical conditions can be survived. They simply require intense and extraordinary moves. In a year, Skybridge had gone from close insolvency to facilitating a fruitful gathering and showing up on top news organizations. They might have effectively tumbled down the hair opening of the downturn and gone under. Yet, all things considered, they safeguarded themselves by benefiting as much as possible from an awful circumstance. At the point when you face disappointment, you must adapt. After the accomplishment of the early SALT conferences, it just seemed well and good for Skybridge to begin contemplating taking the gathering abroad, out traveling to Asia. The author and his colleague Oviedo found seemingly the ideal area, Singapore. The little Southeast Asian nation had a flourishing enterprising soul and a thriving private financial industry. Besides, Singapore's administration was willing not exclusively to embrace SALT yet. In addition, to help Skybridge all through the arranging interaction, Skybridge held SALT Asia conferences in Singapore in both 2012 and 2013. They were immensely effective, and everything appeared to be set to go similarly to at the 2014 meeting as well. Yet, not some time before the Indian festival, Skybridge acknowledged they'd committed a major error. This is the main message. At the point when you face disappointment, you must adapt. Arrangements for the 2014 SALT Asia conference came crashing down when Oviedo got a call from the Singaporean government. They were inquiring as to whether Skybridge would delay. The explanation: Deepavali. The Southeast Asian Indian Festival occurred on October 22nd that year, right in the center of the meeting. Skybridge had neglected to mull over the Indian festival when making their underlying arrangements. The author realized that he and his group couldn't hazard irritating Singaporeans or the Singaporean government by proceeding with the Indian festival, so they quickly set about dropping everything. And afterward, they rotated. They began arranging an elective Indian festival, the Skybridge Global Symposium. The symposium, which occurred in Japan, was a more cozy Indian festival for eminent financial backers to meet noticeable speculative stock investment directors and thought pioneers. Over 100 institutional financial backers were in participation. They had the chance to converse with a portion of the people who had been booked to talk at the first meeting, similar to previous Federal Reserve Chair Ben Bernanke. Eventually, Skybridge had the option to rescue both their relationship with Singapore and a portion of the costs they'd sunk into the first Indian festival by conceding that they'd committed an error. The author and his colleague indicated legitimate administration. At that point, they set to work helping their mistake by thinking of another essential activity plan. All through your job, it's unavoidable that you'll encounter disappointment and commit errors. Try not to attempt to overlook them or cover them up. All things considered, recognize your mistakes and afterward own your reaction, transforming disappointment into progress. As an entrepreneur, you should guarantee that you're constantly centered around the correct things. Heaps of eminent business people have an excessively alluring thought of starting a business or becoming a financial backer. The fantasy about having the option to bear the cost of first-in-class sports vehicles, extravagant chateaus, or personal luxury planes. The author fell into this trap when he was young. In 1986, he was in his senior year at college and was longing for a 3-week outing to Italy. To back it, he intended to utilize Hood Ice Cream, an organization that permits people to lease frozen yogurt trucks and purchase stock to offer to clients. His objective was to make an immense benefit by selling frozen yogurt during the Boston Marathon that year, long before the long-distance race. He had a sound number of deals and was at that point imagining Italian sands. Yet, things didn't go very as arranged. Here's the main message. As an entrepreneur, you should guarantee that you're constantly centered around the correct things. Upon the arrival of the Boston Marathon, the temperature was abnormally energetic 38 degrees Fahrenheit. To make matters much peachier, it was pouring. The author had no opportunity to sell frozen yogurt in that climate. Toward the day's end, he returned home with $1,000 less in his pocket than when he'd begun. He'd committed a typical new kid on the block error. He was centered around the result of having the chance to go to Italy as opposed to the way towards selling the frozen yogurt. Therefore, he quit focusing on the subtleties and neglected to make a reinforcement arrangement in the event that things turned out badly, which, obviously, they did. A long time later, the author met another entrepreneur who was excessively focused on totally unacceptable things. The man's office was decked out in imported Italian marble, artistic work, and many-sided oak carvings. However, the author accurately anticipated that this individual would before long be bankrupt. Why? Since he'd overspent on making his office look unbelievable while letting the substance of his business fall by the wayside. Obviously, spending huge loads of cash on extravagant merchandise is a poorly conceived notion. Develop what would be a good idea for you to burn through cash on. Why speculation has the best possibility of promising your achievement. In a word, people without the correct group, there's next to no possibility that your business will develop. How about we discover what that group ought to resemble? Put your group to best use by appointing, engaging, and taking responsibility. With regard to group building, you may be enticed to search out a lot of masters. However, this is an error. Those prodigies frequently need to pull in various ways, which winds up burning through significant time and making strife. It can really be considerably more viable to assemble a group of unobtrusively savvy individuals who are extraordinary at functioning as a group. Pick representatives who have an aggregate soul, and don't mind who gets the acknowledgement for a major achievement. What's more, whenever you've discovered them, ensure you give them all they require to thrive. The main message here is, put your group to best use by appointing, engaging, and taking responsibility. The author is a major enthusiast of having his colleagues work in nearness. All things considered, they work so intently that he gives out free cleansers and antiperspirants to everybody. This is the Marsh Tank model of open correspondence around other people, and it assists with encouraging coordinated effort. On top of the bog tank, the author utilizes the D, the executive style. D represents delegation, empowerment, and accountability. We should jump into what that implies. Appointment implies tolerating that you can't claim each choice in your organization. On the off chance that you need to scale your business, you must choose the option to designate duty in any event for the most basic activities and undertakings. In the wake of tolerating the need to designate, The following stage is enabling your colleagues and workers. Give them the assets and the self-rule they should be fruitful. Guarantee that everybody feels upheld and happy with the offering investigated. That way, they'll realize you care about them and they'll be substantially more able to place in great work. Alongside strengthening comes responsibility, since you're giving your colleagues and representatives the slack to settle on their own choices. You'll likewise have to consider them responsible. As a pioneer, however, you ought to own up to the fault for significant organization slips up, however long your group has invested in a genuine attempt. This is obviously superior to blame dispensing. Effectively actualizing the executive style implies building up a culture of ethical quality in your business. Money Street has gained notoriety for being a deceptive, relentless spot. Yet, you don't need to fit that cliché form. Continuously act with trustworthiness and honesty, and your representatives will follow. Try not to experience life with a chip on your shoulder. At the point when the author's profession initially started, he had an enormous chip on his shoulder. He was a working-class Italian child from Long Island. And he didn't enter the business world with a huge load of associations or abilities. So when he was fired from his first occupation at Goldman Sachs, he was persuaded it was on the grounds that he was unique. However, in all actuality, he simply wasn't an ideal choice for the work and came up short on the fundamental specialized abilities. It hurts for the author to deal with his own deficiencies. Be that as it may, he had heaps of school obligations to pay off, and he basically didn't have the opportunity to defraud and feel sorry for himself. So he assumed individual liability for his conditions and chose to live in the present as opposed to the past. You ought to do likewise. This is the main message. Try not to experience life with a chip on your shoulder. Self-indulgence, victimhood, and self-hatred would all be able to deaden. They can keep you from stepping up and developing yourself. They can likewise move you to look for vengeance, no doubt, or envision insults. Furthermore, that could prompt you to discolor your standing or your associations with potential colleagues. Just take it from the author, who had a bit of a strained relationship with his direct manager at Lehman Brothers. When he resigned from his position at the firm, the author decided to play a little practical joke. He rang up his former manager on the phone and told him he was working on something exciting and could use his manager's help. His former manager took the bait, asking how he could help. The author informed him he was setting up a sumo mud wrestling ring on the 6th floor so he and his boss could duke it out. They could even split the proceeds, he said. Unsurprisingly, the author's former boss didn't find this too funny. The author had let his emotional insecurities get the best of him and could have jeopardized a business relationship. Luckily, the two had the option to streamline things years after the fact, when this previous manager showed up at a SALT conference. All things considered, the author might have kept away from a ton of shame on the off chance that he hadn't let his feelings improve in any case. Use media exposure for your potential benefit. Do you have a tough exterior? When it comes to receiving criticism, you may believe you are immune to negative feedback, but in reality, we all care about what other people think, at least to some extent. Furthermore, that is in reality okay. Be that as it may, with regards to your business, allowing individual sentiments to impact you can immediately get hindering the world's most prominent business visionaries, like Arianna Huffington, Elon Musk, and Jeff Bezos, all get sound portions of analysis and negative media inclusion. Be that as it may, their enterprising dreams have made them willing to challenge popular assessment and push on with their dreams in any event, when numerous individuals have been basic. In this way, if your fantasy is to go into business, be cautioned, you will confront bunches of public investigations. Be that as it may, in case you're ready, you can really utilize it for your potential benefit. The main message here is, use media exposure for your potential benefit. The terrible press can be a gigantic interruption. In any case, you can prepare yourself to overlook it. Start simply by dismissing one individual assault or piece of analysis every day. At the point when you figure out how to adapt to analysis, it turns out to be substantially less viable, and the media will be deterred from assaulting you. That doesn't mean you ought to totally disregard the picture you project. Mistakes like drinking a lot at the organization occasion gathering and offering improper remarks can be disastrous. That is particularly obvious in a day and age where anything might actually be recorded on a cell phone and posted on the web. That is the manner by which you inoculate yourself against the terrible push on an individual level. Yet, what might be said about changing the way the media regards your organization all in all? For this, you'll need a decent PR system. PR methodologies come into sections: a controlled part and an uncontrolled part. The controlled one comes from promotions. Promotions are the way you cause customers to feel a specific path about your organization or item. At that point, There's an uncontrolled piece of your PR technique. This is the means by which the media decides to depict your business. To improve this angle, you and your organization need to build up a relationship with the press, on the off chance that you participate in an open exchange with writers. They're considerably more liable to be thoughtful to you and hear out your side of the story. To aid this cycle, have individuals in your group who are acceptable at getting out openly and recounting your organization's story in the correct manner. Also, pipe assets into improving your client care and client relations system. The media makes certain to pay attention. Being a decent salesperson requires relationship building abilities, regardless of whether you're in deals. You'll unavoidably need to sell something during your profession. It very well may be another undertaking, an asset, or a more conventional item like dishwashing fluid, so you likely can't evade deals for eternity. However, you can change the manner in which you approach it. Numerous individuals consider selling a sort of back and forth, as though you, the salesman, are attempting to drag reluctant individuals from their cash. In any case, it doesn't need to be that way. All things considered, you can sell genuinely and morally. You should simply fabricate connections. Here's the main message. Being a decent salesperson requires relationship building abilities. To be an incredible sales rep, you truly need to become acquainted with your customers. On the off chance that you do, you'll have the option to recommend items that really address their issues and destinations, instead of essentially making a benefit off of them. In the event that an individual is definitely not a solid match for your items or administrations, don't be pushy. That is an extraordinary method to get individuals to detest you. On the off chance that somebody turns your pitch down, you have several choices. You could, obviously, fold your tail and run and basically acknowledge the other individual's no. But a greatly improved choice is to attempt to turn no into on. That implies discovering approaches to make yourself an asset to the individual you're offering to. Realize what that individual truly needs, and assist her with tackling issues that may not profit you straightforwardly. You can likewise ask her for a reference. She probably won't be an ideal choice for your administration, yet she may realize somebody who'd be intrigued. Much the same as individuals dread deals since they disdain the possibility of dismissal. Numerous individuals are reluctant to arrange on the grounds that they anticipate that it should be an upsetting encounter. They envision exchange as a milestone where just the most persevering can win. In any case, on the off chance that you go in with that attitude, you'll likely wind up hopeless and not really good. All things being equal, you could attempt the Li Ka-shing approach. Li Ka-shing, with total assets of $30 billion, is perhaps the most extravagant individual in Asia, and that is no mishap. As a moderator, Li's way of thinking is consistently to permit his colleagues to profit liberally from each arrangement he makes. That way, they'll be more than able to return and continue to work with him. Continuously be prepared to make an incentive for the other individual, and observe how your own business benefits. Try not to fear putting your neck out in public. Numerous amateur finance managers wriggle at systems administration or talking out in the open. Indeed, even the author concedes that under his reckless public persona, he's very modest. The possibility may be frightening, yet it's essential to utilize any systems administration openings that come to your direction. Try not to think you must be the most extravagantly dressed individual in the room to establish a connection. All things being equal, simply put it all on the line. Recollect that in any systems administration circumstance, others are probably going to be similar, however awkward as you may be. In the event that you essentially stroll up and acquaint yourself with individuals, they'll presumably be appreciative that you did. The main message is this: try not to fear putting your neck out in public. Systems administration can be scary, yet maybe significantly more startling as public talking. Here's the place where we can take an exercise from the author's daughter, Amelia. Amelia was just 12 years of age when her dad got her an extremely exceptional blessing. It was a chance to sing God Bless America before 50,000 individuals at Shea Stadium, the previous home of the New York Mets. Amelia was thrilled when her dad broke the news to her. Yet then she got scared. Imagine a scenario in which she shut up or hit a bogus note before each one of those individuals. Regardless of her feelings of dread, Amelia pushed ahead. She arranged persistently for the occasion, spending incalculable hours rehearsing before her mirror and others. She is working on becoming acclimated to Shea Stadium's obsolete sound framework. Also, she consistently rehearsed her leave to the home plate. Because of her arrangement, Amelia nailed the presentation. Her dad couldn't have been prouder. In the vehicle heading back home, he inquired as to whether she'd been apprehensive while she was singing. She said truly, from the start. Yet, when she was in reality out there, The nerves disappeared. She clarified it thusly. By the day's end, Daddy, I realized that I am enough. Amelia, obviously, was looking at singing. However, this counsel applies to mature business people as well. In the event that you don't accept you're enough, your odds of accomplishment are zero. So you need to make a solid effort to keep up your confidence and live with the conviction that you'll succeed. Along these lines, rather than tumbling down the bunny openings of disappointment, you'll jump over them. Final summary. The main message in these chapters. As an entrepreneur, you're undeniably bound to wind up leaving business than you are to be an enormous achievement. Yet, there are a lot of things you can do to expand your odds of becoming famous. These incorporate adjusting to terrible circumstances, assuming individual liability for your activities, amassing an excellent group, and encouraging your relationship-building abilities. Most importantly, accept intensely that you truly can succeed. You like what you hear? Check out other personal development or business books. This video was made possible by your support. It takes a very long time to make one of our videos. So thanks to your contributions to Patreon and watching our videos, we are slowly able to do more and more of them. If you want to help us out, check out the Patreon page. If you like the contents of this video, check out other books in the description and suggest what book we should cover next.